Okay, well, good morning, everyone. We are having a January regular meeting of the Sandpoint Tree Committee here. We're in the City Hall Council Chambers. My name is Bob Wilson. I'm the chair of the committee. Members present here are Eileen Atkinson, Gail Lister, Rich Del Carlo, and Bill Love is joining us via Zoom. And also our city forester, Kim Woodruff, is here. Let's see, I think we have announcements here before the minutes come up.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to have an announcement I'd like to make, please.
Yes.
I want to share with everybody that I'm retiring.
Oh,
That's good news and bad news.
that's so wonderful.
Yeah, so I submitted myself about a month ago,
Oh,
right before I went to Hawaii on vacation.
oh.
So my last day will be the 31st. And-
January?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
this is your last meeting.
This is my last meeting.
Oh,
So that's what we're
buddy.
trying to, and I've already briefed chairman, and so he'll be able to take us through on the agenda items in the transfer. But the cool part is there's some exciting news in that the May will be kind of taking over the city representative for now, and then she and Jennifer will be meeting with Jim Flott on the 17th. Jim's already done, Jim Flott's our consultant.
Yeah.
And he's already done a lot of the work, which in this past year, as far as the billable and the time he's invested, but there's the tree survey, and some other information that's kind of getting unavailable. So that one will go forward, and they do have a scheduled meeting for the 17th with Jim Flott here. So that will go forward. So kind of we can perhaps get off the pause.
January 7th.
February. We're in January now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, very wonderful news.
Yeah.
How long have you been here?
Almost 36 years.
That's exactly how long I've talked.
Really?
What are they doing? I don't know.
All they're doing is construction next door.
Oh, that's good. Well, don't have to yell.
Pause on that.
Or you person. Bet you can go to that.
Where? No, it got canceled.
I thought about you.
Yeah.
COVID?
South Africa was right when the Omicron was coming on.
Yeah, sure. I thought about you, but I thought you were daring to.
What's wrong? On hold for now.
Let's say it's on hold, right?
Yeah. What's all? Animals and birds.
Oh, okay.
Mike, you can group up.
No, I'm not getting it.
It's up to you guys.
Thank you.
No people like to say that.
Oh, wow.
It's just- it's just- I mean, the flora down there is remarkable. Oh, yeah, I was wondering if we should move
Yes,
ourselves closer. Is
we
that-
cannot hear you.
Well, we wanted an excuse to be close
That's
to
so
them.
much
Yes.
better.
It's better anyways. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought we were gonna have a few extra people here and we're not
Yeah.
at present.
Molly, no.
Oh, Molly, I did not hear from Molly.
I didn't hear from
You're
her
right.
either.
Well,
So
that's
she's- She's not.
Oh, thanks.
she just.
Now they're on
learned to
break.
No, they're not happy, but
What was that?
Molly was just.
I'm retiring.
Well, even this,
I didn't hear, I didn't hear whether she was going to attend at all or not.
All right. Okay, sorry about that.
Ah,
Yeah. no-
Apologize.
no
Oh, Molly,
problem. Thanks for fixing it.
Yep. You bet. So, where are we at? Okay, so yeah, so that could happen there. And then also, we put a lot of work, and we were gonna go gung ho on the neighborhoods program, but I briefed with Bob, and we'll discuss that item when we get to it.
okay.
Okay. So,
Um,
thank you. for
So, Kim, then is there a replacement for the Parks and Rec director?
Reorganization
happen?
kind of still in place. There's some major things in the works as far as projects right now. And I think it's going to give the city an opportunity to kind of relook at where its needs are and take those resources. And I think at the end of the day, it may be advantageous to our tree program. Trees, the bottom line is in our urban forest, we've had no resources that have been invested, right?
That's right.
And I was making a chunk of dough. So I don't know what's going to happen. I've been an advocate of trying to, as you guys know, put more resources into our urban forest. And but I'm out of the loop of decision-making there. I think as we go through the process with Jim Flott and you guys in the tree committee, just to be succinct and be able to make the business case for return on our investments there, which we have, so. But also to be clear too, as soon as I leave on the 31st, as far as the city is concerned and the causes of the city, I've had almost 36 years to do my very best to be an advocate. I will not make any comments on anything related to city.
When? Oh, now?
No, as soon as I'm done. When I walk out the door.
Like, don't call me.
Well, no, you can call me, but
No,
it's just, yeah. I don't think that it's not, I never did appreciate people that were here and then left and then, or back seat driving.
Yeah.
That's not.
No, you're proud of yourself and where you've gone. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm
Totally
saying? Because there's
understand.
other things I could plug into, and I love all you guys,
Yeah.
and.
Mutual.
You can be on our group.
No, because that would be city stuff. But I could come and help you with art and kids and pick on Larry and ride bikes with
Oh,
him.
oh, there's
Rick
big
Deloitte,
life.
my brother.
Very exciting.
Yeah. And I do want to ride Bob's dog stuff. His dog
I
sled.
bet.
Did you know he races dogs?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna ask, but then the meeting started.
All right, okay.
Oh,
Anyway,
right.
and then,
And you too, Bill. Is he there?
I think so.
Okay.
Bill,
Yes,
please.
we'll certainly miss you, Kim.
Thanks, buddy.
well, congratulations, Kim.
Yes.
And then Maeve, she's going to be taking over as
As
city
a-
forester. Is that going to be a long-term arrangement or what's?
Don't
You don't
know.
know. So,
I know that we're positioned, here's the big thing, is we're in an exciting time with Jim and we're doing his work to come in with the data and the facts, and everything now is data fact driven and return, right? And as it's not just hanging around and, kind of used to be and just kind of doing what you thought was right, even though that was a good plan. It worked for me for 30 years.
Yeah.
But it's different now. And so that's, bringing Jim in and his expertise to be able to do that. So I think that the trees and the committee are well positioned to go forward and do good things.
Well, that's good news. That's
Yeah.
good.
yeah, I certainly think Maeve has the expertise to
Yes.
be a good,
Landscape architect.
yeah, with that background would be very valuable have her being a part of the
Yes,
tree committee
agreed.
and being city forester. Okay, thank you, Kim. Any other announcements before we go forward? We do need to approve the minutes from the prior meeting, which was in November. Did everyone have a chance to look at them, and are there any corrections, additions?
I thought they were terrific. I would
Okay, you want to make a motion for me to?
I make a motion that we accept those.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh, I'm
Thank you, sir.
sorry.
You're slow on the game there.
All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
The space guy.
Yeah.
So strange.
I wish I had a picture of you.
I
somewhere.
know, that would be
Bill, I
cool.
don't, you're just kind of up in the atmosphere somewhere.
Right. We're looking around. Not there.
Okay, the next item, library display planning. Sharon is not here. She did send me a note saying that we have the display case at the library reserved. It's coming up not too far off, March 9th to April 19th. So we'll
Oh,
have one more meeting before that.
wow.
March 9th to the,
I was thinking
April
fall
19th.
or something.
We'll have,
for a month.
the two full cases, so the whole
Wow.
one side.
On one side, yes.
Yeah,
I've been doing some dreaming about it.
okay,
So I
yeah,
have
and we're
some
looking for a
vision.
little bit of, brainstorming here on things we might be able to.
Can And now.
So go ahead.
Okay.
You're on.
So I had this gigantic slab of a tree lengthwise, and I thought maybe that could be hung somewhere in the back with our banner across the front, our urban forest on that. So that would be like our title piece. And then I will make a tree in a bag with maybe a shovel showing like plant a tree. Then our neighborhoods program in words and images. And then books like ID books and know your trees. I thought it would be fun to do. I know I've gone a little crazy. I don't sleep well at night. So, the conifers, like I'd love to have, and I'm kind of dreaming how to do this so it would be flat, but you'd have all the boughs, the different boughs of the conifers. And I could make little tags that hung that had the name on each one so that you could look or not. What else? Oh yeah, I thought if anyone had like a snag, a small slab of a snag, like, an upright and maybe thin, so that he could be in there, and then I could make some birds, like some chickadees and nuthatches, or even a bark column that has the hole in
I
it.
think that, yeah, like a birch.
Yeah, I've got
Yeah,
some
that'd be
birch
cool.
stuff.
And if it had conchs on it, wouldn't that be so cool? So anything like that, then I could string some leaves, which I have a collection of, and they can be hanging. And then I was thinking, on the window, on the glass, we're not allowed to like put something on there, but there's this stuff that's vinyl, and you can pull it off when you're done. And I wrote to my friend that's a sign painter and asked if we could, where to get some. We could put words all the way around the first layer of glass. So that could be like, how did I say it? Oh, excuse me. Oh, yes. Our trees provide us with. Our trees provide us with, and so you could start just by reading all these endless things. Anyway, like I have a lot of good ideas,
Yes.
so we will need all of us to like say, oh, and what about a round? A slab of a round.
Oh,
so
I
we
have.
could- You do?
Yes. I don't know where I got it. It might be our next door neighbor's cherry trees.
I
I
know.
have to ask her.
Okay.
What it is. where
See,
it
and
came
that's
from.
what I think if once we come up with, or yes, we like these ideas, then each of us has to do an assignment by bringing the stuff.
You're the snag bridge. You're obviously going to sign the snag.
Yeah.
And you're the
Yeah,
dicks.
and I like the idea of, that even the city trees, and that's what we're talking about,
It is.
can provide wildlife habitat,
Yeah.
Yeah.
nesting for birds and,
And wouldn't it be also cool to have something lying along the bottom in a form of decay? I
would
thought
be.
that would be cool. And also if it was hollow, oh, wouldn't that be great? Like little beasties could be living. Anyway.
Could we pull out of the tree inventory, the street trees, the value citywide? That would be kind of impressive because people don't understand that
No.
each tree has a value based on shade, safety,
Yeah.
asphalt,
Value.
and to quantify, kind of the range of a few days.
Okay.
well, you would be absolutely amazed and impressed what the value that those trees
Right.
have to the community in terms of just monetary and as they sit in the landscape. And
then-
of course, we are talking about the right of way trees.
Yeah.
Well, and
Oh,
we could add parks.
Parks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's true.
Because I was writing our urban forest, which is really kind of,
It
you know,
encompasses
all
all
of it.
public trees, I think. That's,
Yeah, no,
that's the
that's,
direction I
that's
think this,
very
good
I've
point.
asked Jim Blunt.
But the big thing is that trees give us oxygen. We
Yeah.
give them carbon. That might be another the reciprocity. We
People like to breathe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no, I like that. That's good because then we have that education component in there.
also like last time we did the window, you know how when you're doing the leaf collection, you know, mount them and have a name and maybe the bark or something. Anyway, I did a bunch of those. I think I still have some. They could be like behind the books and the ID books. So that, you know, there's just lots of sectors to it and you could really climb in.
Did they ever work that where they, you know, kind of, and I've been in the library for a while, but don't they usually have like some books that are popular or whatever, theme books or whatever when you
Yep.
walk in?
Oh.
Could we have tree ones there? And kind of-
Wait, are you talking about to the
I'm
left?
talking about the library
left,
proper when you
yeah,
walk
When
in.
they're
It
showcasing.
seems like there was a showcase of
Yeah.
book things. And then
Oh,
maybe
yes.
for a small period of time or whatever, something kind of focusing on trees or
Good
something.
idea, babe. So
And
we-
some of us have books.
yeah,
Mhm.
we did do, but for,
But probably
But
the
those
library
are
just wants to
books
use their
people
own
can
junk,
check out.
their stuff, yeah.
yeah.
I guess we'd have to coordinate that with the library.
Right.
Yeah, then that,
To see
yeah.
if they would be able to-
But I think you're right on, and
Yeah.
especially as the committee goes forward, looking for resources and money and for, and what I, and for my brain is, that's, we need to educate to be able to show the value, to make the cause, to our council people, to allocate money. So
Mhm,
education is critical.
absolutely.
Well, that's what this is all about, I would think.
No, that's what's awesome about
Yeah,
Mhm.
it, and you make it look awesome.
it will be very much fun. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna make the birds yet, but I think that would be fun to have like nuthatches upside down. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
who knows? I don't know about that part.
Yeah, those are great, awesome ideas.
Okay.
I especially like the idea of having books since it is a library after all, and I think we all have things we can bring in.
And like bookends over in that corner on that shelf, we could have like some cool bookends that maybe make you feel like you're in your library with an open ID book. And yeah,
Mhm.
so we all have to bring our favorite books too, that we want to part with for a month
Mhm.
and have them in there.
Yeah, I have a bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great. And then there's that one fiction book I read this last year called Overstory.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
Is it good?
yeah,
horrible.
Really?
I mean, yes, I just finished it.
yeah, it's
So,
it
what's it
was one of the best
Overstory?
sellers. It's the Overstory. Yeah. But
Somebody.
it sort of brings, it brings a lot of science into the story too. Sort of emerging science about how trees interact with each other and with the environment.
And also, what's that one? How trees can talk, communicate. I don't know what,
The title.
yeah, it was featured along with a Kinnikinnick meeting about that doctor, the pioneer here. He was a doctor and.
Oh, the medicinal guy?
Yeah, maybe.
Eileen,
Sold that book along with it. It was about all the stuff that's communicated below the surface.
Bill's trying to.
yeah. Eileen, I think you're referring to a book titled Find the Mother Tree by a forestry professor from University of British Columbia. And,
Have
and
that one.
and
Read that one.
Have you got that one?
yes, I do. Yeah, it's a very interesting book and kind of similar to the Overstory. It incorporates some new science regarding how trees communicate through their root system and share nutrients. And the mother tree that's responsible for the younger trees and that sort of thing. It's a really interesting book, and I could certainly bring a copy of that to put it in the display.
Yay.
Wonderful.
Okay, thanks, Bill.
We won't have enough room pretty soon.
I know, I'm thinking it's gonna be a lot of stuff, but we don't have to
But that's a big case.
select it. Better to have too much than too little.
Cases, it's a big space.
Yeah. Should we try to bring some of these things to the next meeting and kind of at least gather them
Where
together?
could they stay though? That's the
Um,
thing.
I'll talk to Sharon.
Okay.
I'll see if she has a place Yeah,
Because that's a good idea, and then we could have a greater visual because we see what we had.
yeah.
Yeah.
We could do a little more layout on it, but, yeah, that all sounds
Does the
awesome.
library have any staging rooms?
Yeah, I don't know, but, let's see, our next meeting. The 15th, and yeah, sort of between the 15th and March 9th, so we'd have to keep it for a few weeks if we were going to do that.
So let's bring in Jennifer. The tree committee has a library display reserved at the library for March 9th to April 19th. So that's what we're talking. Right. Is the ability and what type of the education, kind of focus on education and celebration of our urban forestry.
And this-
Yeah, and on
this
the
is something
outside
we've
of
done-
the case is the applications for the neighborhood program.
Yes.
Well, and that's why we want to make sure because, so we have, a unified city understanding. So Jennifer can share with the mayor and the council what's going to be happening. Everybody understands, right? Because this is under the city stuff. So as our, what is the public relations agent? Is that the name of it?
PIO,
PIO. Office of-
sometimes known as other things.
Yeah. So we just want to make sure that we run everything through just for consistency to understand. So the message that we're taking and what our goals are and what it's going to look like, and then to run it through her, she could share with those people. So there's no, we want to bring it to the attention of our elected what we're doing. Then maybe they'll make a trip down there to see it, right?
Yeah.
So it all goes back into educating our decision makers and the resource allocators about the value of trees. Bottom line, we got to run everything. We need to run everything.
Right, because our committees are advisory committees to the council, really.
Right. So how, is there any particular, will May be the conduit then on that, or I announced my retirement, so we have an understanding there.
Well, one option might be to have a public announcement about what's happening at the library, and for council to be aware would be to maybe have Bob come to, or one of the committee members to come to a council meeting.
To put the case, to do the display.
No,
Oh,
to,
good.
to talk about what you're doing and for X period of time.
Or even as far as the display?
Yes.
Yeah. So no, it's just another opportunity to share the message and get it
I
out
mean,
there.
for the
It's another whole
newspaper,
conduit other
the
than just-
newspapers to pick it up, to get publicity around it, where they're getting most of their city stories is from the council meetings.
So it has nothing to do
They're
with.
listening at the front end of the council meetings to what our announcements are and our updates, even the reader. You'll see if you look online, because I can see who all's online. Zach's on every week and picking up the beginning of the council meeting. That's his story the next day. They want to get the front end.
So when someone goes to a council meeting to make a announcement like that, that would come at the start of the meeting typically? Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
the council people would be talking about it, or the person that was representing would have to stand on the podium and explain.
Yes, the committee representative would announce to council what you're doing, the display in the library and why and for what periods and things like that. It's an opportunity for, when you're presenting to council, you have to look at it through two lenses. Number one, you're updating the council on what the committee is doing because it's an advisory committee to the council. Secondarily, you're updating the public what city committee is doing. And for the press to cover that and inform the public, you're accomplishing two things at a council meeting.
So it has nothing to do with, it has everything to do with another opportunity to get our message out
Right.
even way more than just by chance, by golly, by somebody going into the library, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, now they might go specifically for that purpose.
I think we've covered that one pretty well. Not quite sure what I want to talk about here. increasing the forest canopy, that's
Yeah.
something we had on there. And we had a note from the National Arbor Day Foundation to print out on with your handouts here, I guess. That describe their program. You know, I did look into that. They do have they do offer some support for tree planting programs specifically to plant trees in non-city properties, on private property. But what they offer is a sort of like some infrastructure for distributing trees. For they put up a website. If we bought into this, and it does cost some money, if we bought into this, it would require they would provide a website where citizens could go online. They could actually find their own property on their map, and then they could say, I want the trees here and here and here, and then they could sign up for certain specific trees. Or I think the program can make recommendations as to what trees might be appropriate too. So it's a good thing. It's not cheap. So I think there's a minimum of 100 trees, which might be that's more than we typically do with our neighborhoods, quite a bit more. So whether we could get enough takers that would be worth it, I don't know. It's sort of something we need to consider. And then I think it's their cost is something like $30 or $40 a tree, which would bring the program at even 100 trees, $3,000 or $4,000. And I wouldn't expect the city to come up with that kind of money necessarily. So that would require, if we wanted to get into that, we would be looking for some private donations, perhaps. So that's kind of where it sets.
Where would those trees come
They said they would source them from local nurseries.
from? Oh,
So do you know size? Is it a stick or is it a little tree? Do you know?
I think it's a substantial size trees. It's not, it's not like the Arbor Day little seedlings that you get. It's a real tree. I don't know if they're quite as big as the ones we've been planting, which are like 1.5 to 2-inch caliber trees, which are
Nice size.
good sturdy trees.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
when I was doing we kind of talked to this a little bit, and I went forward and I called the co-op and learned that the co-op does on Arbor Day a large tree. I don't think it's a giveaway, but it's like really a reduced rate. So, and they do a ton of trees on that day. I had no idea. And so maybe we could, the city or the committee could communicate with those guys, make them aware of this program and participate in celebration. And maybe some of those would be inside the city on private property, because that's what our focus here, what we have control of as a committee are the parks and the right of ways, right? And so if we really want to try to celebrate and encourage people to plant trees on their own, and it's already an existing program. When I talked to the guy, the manager, George, yeah, and then he was out kind of behind the gun too. That's when we were looking at the Neighborhoods program, and I was aggressively going after that and looking for trees, and he was frustrated because he was a little behind the 8 ball on trying to get an order in. But this may be something to say, hey, George, this is out there. What can we do to work together? And we understand that he has a greater Sandpoint area that the co-op kind of serves, but also inside the city. It would, those people inside the city are also, could participate. So that would be something that might be easy for us to do because they do it already. And we just jump on board, help them promote it, tell them about the program, maybe for financial assistance.
it sounds like both of those instances would be bare root trees. I would think.
I think the co-op is providing a lot of fruit trees and shrubs.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that they're bare root.
Oh, bare root. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, and also it's maybe, I'm not sure what the packaging would be for the what you were talking about either. And
Yeah,
so there's a little bit of different dynamics when, you know, when you're getting into bare root, they're a little, I think they're great, but not necessarily for homeowners who may not know what.
And also, it sounds like this is only during that time, during Arbor Day, that they do this program for co-op.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah,
Or is, yeah.
Are you
So,
familiar with that program?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah, in
you've
fact, I
got to
just got a-
plan then, I mean, it doesn't
Right.
extend, whereas the other program extends and they have the website.
Exactly.
So if you found someone with $4,000
mhm.
that wanted to do this, that sounds terrific. I mean, I don't know, is there a way we can look up that program? Like, how can we learn about it?
Um,
Oh, it is? Okay,
well,
never
yeah,
mind.
I did contact the Arbor Day Foundation, and that's,
That's how
they
you
gave me
learn.
that sort of write-up
I don't see it.
as a response, and it's just, I forget the details that were in their
Okay, well,
email,
maybe
but,
later.
I'd have to go back and look at that.
It should have been on the attachment for
Yeah.
your meeting minutes and
I don't
agendas
know.
and all that kind of stuff too, just so
Is
you know.
that two-sided?
Oh, Bob? Can you
Yeah.
hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry to butt in, and I think I may have kind of gone a little past the conversation, but talking about the co-op annual tree sale, in the newest edition of the co-op country roundup that just came out last week, they have a full page ad about the tree sales, and what they're showing it for sale is primarily some blueberry, grape, raspberry, those type things, purple lilac varieties, but very little actually listed in the way of trees that would, you know, appeal to the urban forestry program. A lot of
Right.
berries and fruit trees and things like that.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Kim.
So if anyone does know of any potential donors, we should,
Well, Bob
I
brought up,
can put something together for.
Bob brought up last time, Bill, when we were talking about improving private property trees. And this is, what you're talking about is probably a result of that. Larry and I visited Katie Cox, who is head of the Knixu Trust. And I didn't go to that question directly, but it seems to me they spend all of their money on buying land and improving land rather than financing the planting of trees. It was just a source of money, a possible source of money, but I think that's not a place we would go. Somebody else was going to somebody else. There was Katie, I don't know now.
But so you think they are not a likely source
No, I
for this
don't
kind
think
of a
so.
program?
We could still
Yeah.
approach them, but I saw all these plans for land that they've got
Yeah.
bids on and land that they've purchased that they haven't made a lot of publicity about.
I think the one other option is you may want to focus on what you want to do for programs this year within the budget that you have. We're going to be moving into budget for next fiscal year here in about 3 months. And as we get Jim back over here and get working on and finishing our actual urban forestry plan, that will guide allocation of budget in future years. So there is a possibility of the city allocating some budget to programs. It's just, it hasn't happened in timing for this fiscal year
Yeah.
because we're typically about 9 months out with developing our budget from fiscal year start.
Yeah, it's been my understanding that the city's been real reluctant to to spend money for trees on private property.
I
So,
think that we have some possibilities in terms of if it's straight private property, then yes, that can become problematic. But if we're talking right of way and putting trees in the right of ways and supporting growth of the urban forestry that way, I think that we have more flexibility.
Yeah, we've had budgeted money to do our, what we call our neighborhoods program.
Right.
And that's been there every year. That gets a small number of trees in the ground, but I think the agenda item arose because we were trying to figure out, we're looking at the forest canopy overall within the city limits, and what we can influence on the city right away and parks is a pretty small percentage of that. So we're trying to explore ways that we could get more trees planted on the private land as well, that would provide forest benefits to the city. So that's kind of where our thinking has been.
And when you get out of the right of way area, it gives the trees much more of a chance to really, mature.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's growing a tree in a city environment can be a very challenging situation. And I think that strip between the sidewalk and the curb is maybe more challenging than some. So not all trees that get planted there fare as well as the trees that might be planted on private property. But
Do you know if the city, if we could get private funding, can it be worked? Does it have to be done on the outside, or does it on the city?
I think I appreciate the question. I think I'm gonna have to give you the answer at your next meeting, because I'm gonna have to talk to our legal counsel. I mean, even if we are raising private donations and they come in, once they come into the city, they become public resources, and so an allocation. So I think the question is, can the city as a municipality invest in a tree program like this on private property, period? And without talking with our legal counsel, I can't give you the specific answer to that. Can we give money to a private entity? No. Can we even pass through money to give money to even a nonprofit organization? No. But if there is a broader community benefit, I would say that this is a possibility, and I need to explore it with legal counsel. I mean, for me, immediately off the top of my head, it's not an absolute no.
And there are other cities kind of in our area that are doing it, right? That do have programs that are working.
Post Falls does, and that's the only
Yeah,
one that I
yeah.
know of, but they have a fairly sizable tree distribution program that they run each year, but they have a benefactor too that pays for it. But yeah, it's city staff and city time that does
Yeah.
run the organization, but they don't pay for the trees. So that's their balance.
Another alternative would be a private foundation that basically serves as the banker. They receive private donations, not city donations. They keep it and administer a particular fund, and then through some mechanism, then they convey that money for trees to be planted on the ground. Now, whether or not that is a pass through the money to the city and then the city utilizes it, that might be a little bit of a concern. Or if the foundation itself is responsible for purchasing the trees, hiring a contractor, and that sort of thing. But some cities and other organizations do work through a private foundation that's independent of the government organization to get these type projects accomplished.
Well, that's an interesting idea, Bill. That way the funding would pretty much bypass the city coffers entirely. And maybe that would be a way.
The downside to that is you lose some off the top, because there's always a charge to administer that. So I think your preferable route would be go through the city.
Okay,
And I can have a conversation, our legal counsel's up tomorrow, actually, so I can have a conversation with them before the next meeting. I mean, the reality is if like a post falls found a way around it, whether you're contributing staff time or whether you are contributing dollars from the city, either way, you've contributed city resources. So it doesn't matter one way or the other. So why don't I, for the next meeting, I will have a conversation with our legal counsel and get kind of some parameters. Because I think that's probably what we're talking about as opposed to, no, we absolutely can't do this. It's probably a yes with some parameters around it.
okay. Jennifer, that would be great if you could get back to us and let us know
Yeah.
what our options may be.
Yep.
Anyway,
No
well,
problem.
thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see.
It's almost 20 after.
Yeah, how much time do we have, Cammy? Do you have someone coming in afterwards here?
I don't have access to the council chamber calendars, but our meeting is usually what, an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a little time here.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll keep that in mind and have any other ideas on funding sources, let me know, but we'll move it up to what the city thinks of that kind of a program. Anyway, moving on to the next item, partnership options for Arbor Day celebration. Do we have a date? Kim, do you know what the date is for Arbor Day?
This is kind of a follow-up question from what came from when I had the meeting with the Native Plant Society and the museum and the groups there. You don't know if they've met it again at all on native plant in regards to Arbor Day, because they were speaking of doing it the national day. And remember Idaho, ours was always a little different because of the weather.
Freezing,
conditions, but-
freezing snow.
And I think so that was kind of the conversation.
Okay, so,
And
know.
somebody was going to talk to Bonnie
yeah.
Jacobus.
Oh, Bonnie?
Or
Or
was it, I
Ken
think she
Thacker,
was the
Ken Thacker.
liaison with the.
No, there was,
Connecticut.
who's the one who's the weed guy?
Yeah,
His
Ken
wife.
Thacker.
Yeah, Thacker's,
Well,
his wife.
that's his
His
wife.
wife, Bonnie Jacobus.
Yes, she was the one on fire about doing all this stuff.
Okay,
So Bonnie is the key.
Yeah.
So yeah, somebody might want to reach out to her
I will do that.
and then maybe even have a subcommittee or whatever you want to do. But it does remember for our tree city, we do need to have some type of a celebration or, yeah.
Yeah,
And Bill, I appreciate you being there you were the audience at our last tree celebration. You and I, my granddaughter, my wife, and Shannon, councilwoman.
Oh, it was a very festive celebration. I enjoyed being there. Thanks, Kim.
It was good.
Yeah.
My granddaughter loved it. She got to play there.
You know, the requirements for Tree City USA is one of the requirements is to host an Arbor Day celebration and to read the Arbor Day proclamation. And so, you know, we checked all of the boxes. And so we officially met the requirements for an Arbor Day celebration.
And that application has been submitted, so.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any ideas about that, like our part in it, besides like saying we're doing it and having a reading? Is there any more? I mean, banners.
It's run the gamut over the years.
Yes, it has.
Of a more organized bringing kids in thing.
Yeah,
I think one time Rich did a tree pruning
Yes.
clinic through the city in Lakeview Park. I think the idea of working with native plants is that they are kind of based out of Lakeview Park, as is the museum, and trying to work that synergy of that neighborhood to have something right in the park and maybe different work stations or education stations for bringing kids in or kind of whatever type of thing. So that's kind of the vibe I got as I left that meeting.
So Bonnie is gonna be our girl to get info
Yeah,
on.
she's an energetic one. that
Good.
one.
She was, I mean, I guess she was a teacher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if she's retired.
yes,
She
she is
has.
retired and now is on fire.
Yeah, because she's pretty active.
Yes, she is, in an awesome way.
Good.
Okay. So, so they must have some things in mind, maybe even a date in mind, I don't know.
Well, I think, yeah, exactly, and that's what you can kind of share it historically. It would be awesome if we just did the same date as everybody, right? But
Yeah.
we are in a kind of a different climate, but
Mhm.
we could work around that, maybe by having it indoors, I don't know, there's a lot of things to look at. I think there's something to be said for consistency, sticking with the national date because of the national promotion and all that stuff. And keeping in mind, they're starting the 200th year anniversary or something, right, Bill, remember that? They are, so.
Yes,
And-
yeah. Yes, is this the 150th anniversary of Arbor Day?
I
Coming
think
up?
so.
Yeah.
It's something about start of the year of something.
Mhm.
So it's a year-long thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure what.
It's
that
a
would
tree
be.
party. So let's simplify it.
Get your
Okay.
costumes ready.
Okay, well, we'll
And I
definitely.
shared when you were out, remember the time that you did like the tree pruning workshop? That was awesome. I think we got quite a few people to show up for that.
Yeah.
You know, what kind of talents and skills and education do our citizens need to be
Right.
successful, right? And trimming, I didn't even realize trimming till just recently, because I missed Rich's workshop, but that he leave this much of a little thing. I always thought I was doing a favor by getting right on the trunk. and
Well,
whacking it.
yeah, I mean, that's not entirely accurate.
You need to go to the workshop again.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I would be willing to do that again, actually.
And that's
Okay.
something that people really, you know, you think
Yeah.
about it and it freaks people out, right? It's like, well, how do I trim this tree?
Right.
Right.
You know?
If
I can
Rich
tell you what
doesn't
not to
come,
do because I destroyed
make
an
a
apple
mess.
tree for like 3 years from producing. Why would I do?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be,
Thanks,
yeah.
Rich, all figured out, now we know what we're doing.
Rich will do Arbor Day. Rich and the lady on fire from the.
Yeah, well, it's good. I think it's, it would be good to have other organizations involved. I mean, the Native Plant Society has in the past, done a fairly extensive school program,
Right.
inviting the kids out to
And,
look
and,
at the
and,
trees.
and bringing in a museum too, and they were very interested to have, maybe they could have displays on the inside. Or something, or their networks, and they have another whole source of volunteers, right? So that's just kind of where that's at.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll follow up on that, Bonnie and Native Plant Society. And we'll try and get some more details for our next meeting and we can go ahead on planning on this. And then there's also this mention of the IDL grants, Arbor Day grants. It's on the agenda here.
Yeah, and I did reach out on that, and then just so, and Bill, maybe you can kind of help me out a little bit, the person who does the arborist, or the municipal arbor program for the IDL has taken a job in California, so there's kind of a transition right now, and I don't know, if Bill, do you know if they hired that position yet? In the
Yeah,
state?
I'm not sure whether they have or not, Kim.
Right, but I did reach out to him and he's, and still Garth is our local representative, right? So Garth is under the program of the guy that was the statewide, who was out of Coeur d'Alene, great guy. And so Garth is still a player for us and still a resource for us. And what I've used him for is to work with the trees of citizens who have concerns about the tree blowing over or safety problems, because he can go in and he's certified as a risk analysis to come in and help us with that area. But it's, there was like, it's like $100 a grant or something. And I asked him and it kind of, he left. So that's still maybe out there for a very small grant financially.
Yeah, they're small grants. They have a limited, they have a fair number, but not enough to go around to every city in Idaho that applies for it. So, right. So I don't know if they have just a lottery or they do a rotation or what, but yeah, it's like $100 and it's, you know, pay for a tree or like one tree maybe. So. I mean, the other thing that would be nice to have a demo of is tree planting too, because
Yeah.
that's the other thing. That's the other big thing that's pruning and planting are the most often things done wrong. So,
Absolutely,
we might-
especially the planting.
but we would need to have a location at the park there where we could stick a tree in the ground, I guess. That would be.
And you know what I wanted to kind of, maybe feel free to chime in because you'll be the one that will be leading out the
Okay.
charge at that time. And if you have any ideas about the grant or programming or any things like that, you know, the committee's super excited with your skill set and enthusiasm coming in to lead us on the charge. So don't be shy to step in and speak up. You know, I made it clear that on the last day of the month, I'm gone and Dag, you're in. So speak up.
Sure, well, thank you. Sorry, first of all, I had another meeting, so I was double booked and I just got out of that one and came to this one. I do have a couple ideas. I don't think they will work for this year, but for next year and going forward, as I roll out projects, because I'm gonna be doing park improvements on a lot of existing parks. Those will be great sites to have trees planted and to annually do some sort of a piggyback project so that there could be a volunteer component, a training workshop with a project in conjunction with the new work that's being done. I was just looking at the Idaho State, what is this committee? They give away free seedlings at all the Home Depots.
Give away free what?
Free tree seedlings
Oh,
throughout on Arbor Day.
right.
And they're just the little guys, but what we could potentially do is piggyback that where people could come to us with their, go get your seedlings and then we'll take a look at it and show you how to plant. I don't know, there could be ways to do that so that they could then go plant their seedlings. There's a lot of ideas, of course, that come to mind. I think sticking with something for this year that's simple. I love partnering with anybody, but I love partnering with the Native Plant Society. I think that's a rich partnership and Lakeview certainly could use it. We could always find a place to plant a tree as an example. In that park, there's lots of space there. So that's kind of it for right now, but I'm just getting my feet wet with you all, so bear with me. Thank you.
I think maybe.
The trees that we've planted on the north side of the park.
On Ontario, yeah.
Yeah, who sponsored that?
It was an Arbor Day thing.
That was-
Yeah, but.
That's Jared.
Well, I think that just came out of the city,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
community forest or urban forestry program.
Right,
So it wasn't outside funded.
so Kinnick may have picked that up, or we're possibly, that's not a possibility this year.
That they would, well,
You think that we did that we.
Oh, I know you did.
Yeah.
We did.
I know, because I got yelled at by the soccer guys. The tree showed up in their play area. But so there is a
Yeah.
strategy to plan where the trees go. And that he did a tree in that location and it was not a wrong move. It's just, you got to understand that everybody sees parks through different eyeballs.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Plus, Kim, didn't you tell us that you thought maybe that was not a great place for planting more trees because you wanted open space?
Correct.
But on that note, what if it was a companion shrub that created, because it's already gonna be a tree.
I'm gonna defer that one to me.
How about a shrub? I mean, as far as the planting on site at the park, it could be a demo there. Then people aren't like going. to
Maybe right,
another-
there's lots of room there for planting.
Oh,
Just
you-
you want to be strategic about it and work with what we
Oh,
want to do.
okay,
So,
good.
and she's very, very savvy to our parks and operating and play and sport and landscape. So
And we never want to lose sight of that right tree, right place.
that
That's
is the biggest drum to beat, I think, anywhere is the right tree. You know, by a long time ago, we went and got a little maple tree for tree day, right? And the kids planted it for Gina. And the thing grew freaking huge. And then I just saw it down like last year because it was the wrong place, right?
Yeah.
But it was a cool tree, but it's just like, oh, because it was this big when we planted it.
Yes.
And then it got huge.
Right.
Yeah, that's an important point.
Because no matter what we do, we're looking at sustainability. I
Right.
mean, that's something that we're
Exactly.
trying to promote a future here, and so just willy-nilly sticking stuff in.
Well, see, that's the
doesn't work.
downside to a tree giveaway program, truly.
Right,
Is
exactly.
people just like,
Exactly.
that's what happened to me. I'm supposed to.
Well, yeah, we all do that.
And let's put
Tree,
it on
the
our,
tree.
in our window. What is that saying? The right tree in the right place.
So
Yeah,
The right
could I just
tree.
offer a suggestion? It sounds like two things that you've said are you need education on how to plant a tree, but also picking the right site. So that's a design workshop, and
totally.
maybe that's something that we could offer on Arbor Day, because that's a really great
Mhm.
component that a lot of neighbors may not know about. And here in Sandpoint, there are at least 2 landscape architecture firms. Most of the architects partner with landscape architects, and I bet you I could rope in a couple of landscape designers, and maybe we could host a workshop of
Really good idea.
what's your, if you have a site, show us your site, bring us a picture, or now with, Google Maps, we can all have our tablets or laptops and pull up anybody's address and
Mhm.
make recommendations on that. So maybe that's an opportunity to team up with the landscape architects and designers, and then really diversify the offerings for Arbor Day.
Good idea.
Mhm.
So we're not teaching people just to plant, we're teaching them.
And then lastly,
system.
and maybe this is kind of directed to you, is the sidewalk project that's going on Pine Street in between Division and Boyer. Is going out to bid. It's a city project, but I think there's a huge element there in that right of way there as an opportunity for street trees somewhere down the line. And I've been working with IDS a little bit on that, but I think to follow up on that, in fact, I just had a discussion with her yesterday, asking when you're going to be going out to bid at that. And originally I thought we would want to get ahead of it before, but I think maybe let the project get done, then really bang away some resources, because that's the main corridor. There's going to be a sidewalk. We talked about that, remember? The
Mhm.
sidewalk going in between on Pine Street on the north side, from
Right,
Division to Boyer.
yeah.
And then the tree opportunities there. So I think that that's really a biggie. And maybe even popping over on the park side some, or on the other side for.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's a bigger discussion with the city collectively, and I would argue that's a potential code change. And as we move into strategic planning and we move into code revisions in other cities, there is often typically a green corridor that goes hand in hand with new development and even redoing existing development. We don't have anything that speaks to that here. So I think that there's opportunities for that, but I would recommend as a commission, if that's something that you feel is in alignment with your goals and your mission, then you may submit a statement to that effect. So it gets elevated.
Is that something that's going to happen this year, the Pine Street?
Yes, and we're going back out to bid with that in the next 60 days.
Okay,
So,
and,
yeah.
and the sidewalk will be completed this coming year then?
yes,
So, I mean, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to be thinking about or to be planning for specific trees till that really gets done.
well, there was some coordination in reaching out with the neighbors and education about that, because if they wanted trees, thinking about extension of anybody who has a sprinkler system under the sidewalk, that's the time to think about it, so that those trees are adequately watered, especially as new starts. The other thing we had talked about with that program, I believe, was potentially using some of the dollars that we had for trees
Neighborhoods,
and
actually
making that available and really investing, looking at, and there was some discussion, and this, I think, needs to be a discussion with this committee moving forward, like targeting even neighborhood programs to projects that we're doing, because typically those are newer development areas where perhaps there's not the tree canopy that we see in other areas of town, particularly south side versus north side. There's a significant difference in the tree canopy. And also when we're doing the sidewalk projects, really accommodating for the water of the trees at the time that we're doing those.
And the gist of it, just be more strategic perhaps with our neighborhoods program. And that's been kind of the mantra for a long time. It's just instead of willy-nilly and people saying, yeah, I want to do this, which I do have a list of people, about probably 15 to 20. And some of them are on that Pine Street corridor, because we had citizens meetings, a couple of them I attended and gathered names. And so I'll share all that information with Maeve so she has it.
Okay,
People do want trees.
yeah. We're kind of segueing into this neighborhoods topic here. I'm thinking maybe we should move on and address that. Neighborhoods is has been an integral part of our efforts here since we started, and we have planted, I think, at least 800, maybe close to 1,000 trees over the years. So it's really it's been, I think, one of our more successful programs. It's also been one of our one of the programs that's more in the public. The public is more aware and more appreciative of than maybe any of the other things that we're doing. So I definitely want to make sure that that gets carried forward. It's kind of been on hold for the last couple of years, between COVID, between changes in the city staffing here. So it's been interrupted, but we do want to try to get that back on track. So and we had originally planned on trying to do something this spring, but I was hoping we could get those. We had redone the applications, and those were. And I'd like to get those out.
I could step in and help you there. That was all ready to go, and I was ready to send them out, but then I decided to retire, and I didn't want to send it out a bunch of stuff and then not knowing exactly what the structure or staff resources or would be available to do that. That would be not a cool thing to do. So hit the pause button on that, didn't send anything out. So we've got the form in place, but that's why I think, when we go in here, we're looking at the capacity component of the neighborhoods program is truly administrative. And you guys understand, it took us in our situation a little to understand that when I took over the tree stuff and arborist, that was on top of stuff I was already doing, right? And then you guys just assumed that I had the resources and time, kind of that Jared did his time. And I assumed you knew that I did. You were going to do the work. It says, well, who's going to do stuff? It's all great ideas, but who's going to do the work? And so, knowing that and not wanting to. And so that was, we're not going to go in there and just do that. So I think that to be successful, we need to have it in a plan coming through with Jim and I think Jim and Claude and Jennifer and May were meeting, I think the 17th of February. Is that when you guys were going to meet?
I
Ish.
believe so, yeah.
So that'd be kind of a thing. So yeah, it is super important. We do want to go forward and truly, Bob and I discussed this, and I felt the real the value and the rubber meets the road of the 1,000 trees that have been planted and our desire to go forward there. But truly, you got to understand with all the dynamics and the changes in the city, because we want to make sure that on the city's end we're set up to succeed. And so there may be components of Maeve or whoever is designated to do that coming up with a volunteer system or something. But until they're comfortable with that, with the current workload, and truly it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. And I thought it was bad on me. I heard it's going to be twice as bad because there's some major things going on. So I guess what I'm asking for is patience and understanding the value and having it in there. But
So bottom line, we're not planting trees this spring.
there is no problem. I just said my piece.
Okay, I mean,
Excuse me though, but so you did not change on the web where our,
We changed the form.
on the application for the
Is it on the
website,
web?
that's on there?
So the application looks like this. I can certainly put it on the website, but I was asked not to yet.
Oh,
Because
okay,
we
so
want to
the
have this
answer is
discussion.
no.
well, we just need to make a decision soon, very soon. We're going to plant trees this spring because of availability.
It's not a good sign. Oh, that's worse.
And I take responsibility for that, because we're gonna go out, we had the discussion to go forward. And then when I decided to retire, I just couldn't do that to where we're coming in.
Yeah. No, there is some urgency there
No, I
because inventories are very, very low because of growth in the West. Those guys are moving lots of trees.
I think we can give you an answer on staff availability here in the next week. We can reach back out to you and get you an answer. One of our challenges here at the city, in addition to Kim's retirement and then all the handoff of information and needing to plan for that, is we do have COVID back in the community.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, it's impacted our staff. So I've had a significant number of staff that have been out over the last few weeks. So if it appears that we're in a bit of a scramble at the city, we're in a bit of a scramble because since the first of the year, we've been walloped here again with our staff across all of our divisions. So, and our policy is people are out for 2 weeks, and I've had people able to work from home, but you're not at 100% working from home. And we've had people not able to work. So that's impacted us, and it has impacted us in the parks area too. So that's some of what you're getting us coming back in after a holiday weekend and staff just back in the office today.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to try to wait till fall at this point, and given all the uncertainties. And in fact, in the past, we've done mostly fall tree plantings, and that's been pretty successful. It gives us a little bit more. We can ask for trees prior to them having been done, and so they can go and dig the trees in kind of the order. And I think that's a little easier than trying to work off of there. And Rich, I appreciate you getting those availability lists, but
No.
but yeah, those
Like Mr. Chair, I feel
availability
like
lists are
that's-
finite.
That's something we could absolutely commit to for staffing with that type of a planning timeline, as opposed to spring.
Okay. Does that sound good to everyone, to wait till fall, shoot for fall, and we'll, I think we can get these applications out anytime, because there's no, it doesn't say when anything is gonna happen, although we can always follow up once we get applications in to let people know what to expect.
So we could go ahead and have Cammy put the new application online.
Yeah.
We got to review that? We need to review that? Okay, go for it.
Okay.
It seems like also, if that's what's happening, then we should put something in the paper to let people know that, no, we're not having a spring plant. Also brings them aware again of our program, and the planting is going to be in the fall. It just,
Yeah, but to that end, we
yeah.
never have done it in the spring, to Bob's point. We could use the opportunity with the sharing with council and the library information and all that to really push that emphasis. So really, the only one that knew we were going to do spring was here, right? And so we do is we're retooling. We're going to have some more, a better plan in the fall to do the planting proper. And that's where in all of our education, as far as the display and the member coming to the council to present during the announcements and everything related to that, that will be our message. And Gail and Thomas will punch.
That sounds good. And I usually help out with the tree care workshop, and honestly, my time gets very busy in the spring with my nursery. In the fall is a much better time for me too. So that's my other motivation.
I'd be happy to help you out with that too in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two pieces actually. There's the tree care part of it, and then we usually run through the species availability.
Right.
Maybe you could do that one. Or
Sure.
Take either one really.
Yeah.
It'll be good. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But Yeah, I mean, once we get the applications in, we'll have a much better idea of how many trees we're actually looking at. That was, I think one of the things that was difficult now is shooting for spring is to order trees. We have really a very vague idea of how many trees we're actually gonna be needing and what sizes. So,
Do you need, so if you have a targeted fall plant time and your applications are available, do you need like a cutoff point to be able to plant an order for that fall? So that you're kind of batching your work for greater efficiency?
we don't need, really, the only cutoff time, I think, would be the getting it in by the time we have the workshop. Because the workshop is usually when we get the final counts on tree numbers and tree
It's
species.
required element. They have to go to a workshop to learn how to care for the tree to be able to qualify for the program. So
Yeah, so they have to make it, yeah, it would have to be maybe like a week prior to the workshop.
So, but we do have to have a number and some, some parameters for ordering just because availability of the stock. So, those guys are selling trees now. They'll dig in the spring, and then they may have limited availability for actual fall digging because they're selling so many trees in that spring dig.
well, and that's where it goes through because our certified trees for planting in the class 1, 2, and 3 are quite large. And I think,
Yeah.
instead of giving everybody just the choices, is to kind of see what's out there and it's the right tree, right place, right?
Yeah.
And if we can have it locally sourced even better.
Well, absolutely.
So, just efficiency.
Yeah, if we can get a,
I'm just saying that you can't wait too late into that, into
To
the,
Cammy's point.
but you kind of have to have it figured out by the summer almost
okay.
to have to be able to, for those guys to be able to get a sense of.
We probably don't have time to do that right now, but maybe thinking about that and then the next meeting, working with.
Yeah.
Determine when that
Yeah.
deadline is, so Cammy knows
Right.
that she can proceed. But those are some definite dates for us to succeed, we need to have.
Right. I
And
wasn't
have some
proposing
progress.
that now. I'm
No,
just
no,
saying that
totally.
that's.
Yeah, totally.
in part
But
of
you're
the
right,
plan.
that there is a deadline that needs to happen if we're gonna be able to local source, work with the people.
Right.
Connect all those dots.
Right.
Okay, so we'll have to come up with a date then at our next meeting.
Bob, can I insert something?
Please, Bill.
Yes, it's a little bit of a catch-22, and we don't know how many trees to order because we don't know how many planting spots we're going to have. And we don't know how many planting spots we're going to have because we haven't ordered the trees to put them in. But one thing that would help facilitate the process is my understanding that we have at least a few applications now. Once we open up for additional applications and people start submitting applications, hopefully at that time, someone from the city staff could do some pre-inspection on those applications just to determine, yes, is this a suitable spot? The property owner requested 3 trees. Do they have suitable spots for 3 trees and things like that? So we could start beginning to get some confirmation of potentially how many trees to put on an order. And then that would at least give us a head start instead of waiting until a specific date in the summer when we have to order trees. So as much pre-work as we could do, that would help facilitate when we actually order the trees.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bill. And I was actually going to suggest that not city staff do the property reviews, but maybe the tree committee members could take on that responsibility.
Yeah, that if the city is good with that, I know in the past when Stephen Drinkard was the city forester, then I would assist him, and quite often when he would get several applications, and then we would go out and do that inspection. So it gave us a little bit of head start on anticipating how many trees, and I would certainly be glad to assist as a committee exercise in doing that.
All right, well, thank you. Let's, but yeah, I think it's all kind of hinges on getting these applications out and getting some sort of feedback as to what kind of participation levels and how many trees we're going to be looking at. So I don't know if we need to have a firm deadline on them. I mean, we can accept applications anytime. I think. For all I know, we may get too many applications for us to handle in a single year at this point too. So,
That'd be good.
and also, I don't know, is there, if we're doing a fall planting, the planting actually is going to would be occurring the next fiscal year, not this one.
That's correct.
So we would need to think about budgeting for that too.
Can the money carry over?
Yes. So, yeah, we can deal with it in the budget process.
Yeah. Okay, so that's another way to think about there. Okay. And can we send these applications out to the people that you have your contact list for, Kim? Is that?
Sure.
I think I would really like to see that get moved forward here, so we can.
We have emails
plug
for
in
those
some-
people?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, I'll put together a list and in all fairness for, so Maeve is familiar who is on that list and how she wants to process with them. I will give it to her
Okay.
and then she can go ahead and plan for that accordingly.
I think that would be a good way to do it. Okay, anything more on neighborhoods? Okay, one new item, did you put this on your Kim, tree committee membership?
Yeah, well, this kind of came from the one thing you kind of put on there about possibly seeing if we can get more formal presence from the Department of Lands, and discussing this with Jennifer, she made a great point that the tree committee are all appointed by the mayor. And so when we do have, I think in our code, some things about, I don't know how many live in town, out of town, whatnot. But I think that just kind of a membership discussion on identifying, we have an awesome makeup right now with some very good expertise. Bill kind of de facto has been our Department of Lands guy, and he was Department of Lands when he was working there and here. Now he's just an awesome tree guy that's continued to serve. And you're a private forester now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And so, you know, so there's kind of, that's the one thing that was brought up, and that's kind of what we got to hear, but really to go in there and say, how do we get Department of Lands involved? Just kind of an explanation, the study of how the committee functions, what our roles are, and the makeup, right? And I think we have a dynamic makeup, but are there other partners out there, to Bob's point? And I know whoever had brought it up about getting someone from Department of Lands. And we do have the Department of Lands staff that's provided Garth the resource, the paid resource from the state, but not with the local office. So is that kind of?
Yeah, that's correct. And we used to have, there was Eric Show, I forget what his last name was. but-
Eric Showquist. Showquist.
Yeah, he had been on, then he transferred and took a position down in Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
So he's not.
And what was his role in the local idea?
I'm not sure what his job
You know, he
was.
did Bill?
He was the head of the timber program for the Lake Pend Oreille area of Department of Lands. And the position that he moved to in Coeur d'Alene was a supervisory position. But mainly it was because of he had an interest in urban and community forest. You know, there's a position within the Department of Lands called private forestry specialist, and that is kind of maybe more appropriate, you know, because some of those foresters do get involved with urban forestry. But anyway, you know, another possibility would be if it doesn't work out for the formal makeup of the committee as someone appointed by the mayor, for example, you know, if it's possible to have like an ex officio committee member And then, it would be a non-voting member, whether or not it could be justified under the current city code or not, but it's just sort of an advisory position, recognizing the relationship that we have with the Department of Lands and the expertise that they could provide to the city.
I have a suggestion. What about somebody from Avista? I mean, just about every tree in the city is either impacted or
That'd be a
Avista impacts the trees.
I've learned that, because what I did is I reached out to the person who actually does the work here and the one who does the work at Spokane. It's just been a personal conversation and a relationship I've had. But to have them in a more formal sense in the committee would be freaking awesome. And maybe depending on, and maybe this is something to have May think about, is because she'll be managing also recreation and stuff in our watershed, right? Lots of trees up there. And so to kind of looking at the bigger sense there and the partnerships, but I think for the urban interface for sure of this and the utilities. And then maybe just we can kind of have a discussion, kind of plant some seeds with you. And as you look in and if as you go forward, these are kind of things structurally where you can see efficiencies. So
I think making a note of these suggestions and then kind of finalizing these in the next few months as we look at adopting an updated urban forestry plan. It probably means associated then adopting a new ordinance and revising city code relative to membership on this committee, similar to what we did with arts, culture, historic preservation. So that commission, the makeup as recommended in the plan is significantly different. So a number of the members are representing specific organizations, are representing specific backgrounds on that committee. So it's very different than what we kind of had in the past with committees and commissions where it's kind of a free for all of anybody who wants to apply. And if they're a city resident and that being a qualifying criteria. That's been loosened on some of these committees and commissions as well.
Along that,
business in town, that kind of thing.
and along that same line, I would also like to readdress the idea of actually having only certified arborists work on the city trees.
Okay.
Because there's some really horrible work going on right now. And I've seen it on right-of-way trees. And, if we don't have those standards, then the sustainability that we're trying to promote is not going to be there. And as we're stepping up as we're stepping the level up, we need to also step that quality of work up. Yeah, because we had talked about it a long time ago and that there were people that aren't certified that were doing good work, but the only way to really assure that, and even then it's not totally assured, is to have, somebody that actually is super qualified.
Are you the only one?
No.
So who now?
Well, I'm not sure exactly.
Law, I think law, or the
Who?
law.
Yeah.
And but there's some bigger players right now that are not. And they're not
Absolutely.
work.
So you are absolutely right. And
So you could have a company and not actually
No.
be a certified.
no, that's absolutely right.
And it's actually, sadly, I don't think it's the norm here.
No, that's not.
And
And there are so many, now there's way more
Rich is right.
companies. And so, yeah, I mean, we just have to, because there's some bad work going on.
Agreed.
So that could be part of our
Yeah.
planning.
That's right, stick.
Yes.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I think a lot of good ideas there. We're allowed to have 9 people according to code. We're at 7. We're supposed to have at least half city members. There was that provision in there also previously about having one person from the downtown Sandpoint Business Association. Which does not no longer
That was in the
exist.
olden days.
Didn't
So
work
that's-
out very well.
Well, and like Jennifer said, it's an awesome time to kind of, with Jim coming in to revisit that part, look at what our things did, what, everything you guys bring up is awesome. Jennifer's example about, you know, the arts and historical and looking at the expertise and things going forward and efficiencies, you know, times have changed a lot since, you know, Stephen got this thing going along.
Right.
And, you know,
Yep, things moved along a lot. Okay, well, I think we should probably wrap that up unless anyone has any other further comments. Not. Our next meeting, going to be also on a Tuesday, February 15th. I assume is that correct? Is that a Tuesday? We need to get-
Yeah, it's
I
the
was
Tuesday
gonna
after
be
the
here.
holiday.
Yeah,
Oh, hey,
okay.
your name is
Um,
Nevins dash what? We couldn't spell. it.
Louter,
Okay, spell
it's spelled Lavtar.
L-A-V,
V is in Victor,
yeah, L-A-V-T-A-R.
but it's Slovenian, so you don't pronounce it as a V, you pronounce it as a U, so it's Louter.
Loud.
Okay, thank you. Well, there being no further discussion, adjourn the meeting.
Thanks, Bob.
04.
Well done, Bob. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for your presentation, for participation. Bill, thank you very much for joining us here with you.
Yeah, I enjoyed meeting with you.
Thank you.
So everybody's assignment for our next meeting is
Yeah.
to look around at your wooden debris or things that might go into. Okay?
Sure.
Like.
I can't see my wood, it's all covered. in
It's
snow.
true, I know, now I'm looking at some of mine, there's nothing like that.